So welcome to another Wargame review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today I sat down finally and played a game from Legion Wargames, and this was originally I think from 2013, and this is called Picket Duty, and it's kamikaze attacks against U.S. destroyers, and this is a campaign that was based around protecting Okinawa in 1945. This is a solitaire game. I don't know if there's rules for co-op or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it's just a solo-only game. That's how I would play it anyway. But it's designed for solitaire play. And what it is that you take control of a destroyer, and it's literally fending off wave after wave of kind of last-ditch kamikaze Japanese air attacks. It was the very, very last of the campaigns, and basically what happens is there's a bunch of kind of like stations, so to speak, and they had a literal physical picket line of destroyers, kind of surrounding the north and the east, even around the west and the southern tips, but mainly on like the northeast, kind of around the top, towards the Japanese home islands. Just kind of protecting that, and it was planes would come over in waves and waves, and they were just trying to crash into the destroyers and fleets to shoot them. Obviously, they were aiming for targets beyond those as well, but the U.S. Navy puts out line of kind of destroyers to try and shoot those down. So you're the commander of the ship, so to speak, and it's a case of managing your crew. Managing your gun crews to try and shoot down planes that come on you wave after wave. But then also, if you take damage, you have repair crews to try and stop the ship sinking. There's all tons of different bits and pieces. Trying to keep your guns intact, trying to stop any flooding. Pumping out the bilges, getting all the water out. You've got to track your ammunition, your fuel supply. Just how well you're holding together, and there's counters for your XO, your engineer, your gunnery sergeant, chief petty officer, and you're kind of literally moving around from these different kind of sections of the board to different compartments to give bonuses to help fix things, or to give fire bonuses, things like that. This game can be. It's very easy to learn and play, but you can add in all these kind of advanced game rules or optional rules. But I'd recommend playing with a lot of them. You even can kind of track the list and the trim of your boat. So as you start to take on water, and your boat might start to kind of list to port, your guns now you have to correct for that, and so some of your guns can't make certain firing angles against incoming planes. Just some really cool, interesting things like that you have to kind of deal with as well. I actually recommend putting in some of those rules even when you start playing, just because they're not overly complex, and that's what I enjoy about this. If you've played games like Target for Today, it's the kind of, even Silent Victory as well, to an extent. It's those, you're rolling through a series of charts. And the game almost happens to you to an extent, and it's about the story and the narrative. Now, this has elements of that. You do have a chart book that you're going to roll through, but I actually found there was a lot more in the way of decision making for this game, which I was actually very grateful for. Sure, you roll on a chart, this is how many planes come, this is where they're coming from, but, like in things like B-17, it's like, alright, I've got a machine gun on him, a machine gun on him, a machine gun on him, and that's it, dagger, 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 can I get them down? It's very similar in that style, with the high, medium, low, the various attack angles that they come at you from. But I felt like you have a larger array of weapons. You also have different types of weapons. You have big 5-inch guns, you have 40mm cannons, you even have a small 20mm gun mounts as well. So there's some real decision making about how you assign your guns to what and where. And there's a big chart here to help you with that. which was very helpful. I'll kind of show you that here in a bit. But I had a really fun time with it. But, you know, in things like Target for Today, you know, you take a hit, you roll on a chart, I blow up, I depressurize the plane, or, you know, an engine goes out, or we're going to fall out of the sky. On a big destroyer, it's not like that. It's very rare that you'll actually have, you know, crazy things happen where your entire ship blows up. Now, that kind of stuff can happen. You can get into some very critical situations if you start getting magazines hit and fuel dumps hit, things like that. Things can get very, very bad for you. But you have a lot of kind of superstructure and like damage points that you can take. So there's a much more attritional level to this game, and I think that lends itself well to the longer campaigns that you can play with these. So I think the full campaign, if you wanted to do it, it's close to 4 months long. I mean, and you would play it every single day basically, and the victory conditions for that campaign is if you're able to complete 4 months and only 8 of your ships sink or less, you win the game. That gives you an idea of not only just the kind of the difficulty of that, but also, really, I learned a lot. What a fascinating part of history. The desperation, or the honor, or the level of sacrifice that the Japanese were willing to do in service to the emperor. They can just drink my sake and let's go. It is an amazing cultural difference. But the bravery of the Marines and the sailors to just sit there on a destroyer and just day after day gun down planes that aren't trying to necessarily torpedo your boat or shoot you. They're just flying straight at you. That's an incredible type of a conflict. And this game, I actually felt, did a lot of justice to that. And especially over the course of a long campaign, you know, you get that attachment to your crew and to your ship itself. You're desperate to not let it go down, or you have to kind of, you know, port if you run out of fuel and come back again. You want to keep them in action, and you know, losing stuff is, I feel like in some other games, you're like, we all died. But this one, you stick with a ship for so long, and you shoot down so many, like when you know, if she ever goes down, it's crushing. Which is, you know, that's great from a game that it can be so evocative. There's also, so there's a bunch of kind of scenarios in here. Some of them hypothetical, some of them are historical, and it'll show you like the Evans ordeal, which is scenario 5. You start Picket Station 15, which is one of, you know, it was one of the most dangerous ones on the kind of the front line, so to speak. She was actually hit by 4 kamikaze planes, and they tell you the damage report from the battle. So, you know, this is amazing. She had to be towed to base because she was in such terrible shape. But this is really fascinating. You've got pictures of the ships and these kind of diagrams of how they were hit and where. It's just a really interesting type of game. And you know, I feel like, you know, playing through this, that I got at least an inkling of a taste for some of the experiences that were had. The desperation of moving your crew around, trying to do your best to just keep us alive, just to be there. Because, you know, you start getting holes in the lines, or the planes pour through beyond that to Okinawa beyond, who knows what might happen. And that's where this comes in. And I think this actually gives it a little bit more of an intense kind of a narrative and a story than some of the other story-based games, war games out there. So this has been on my radar for literally years, and I finally just got my hands on it. So, and this is even the first edition. Legion just put out a second edition where I think they tidied up the rules some, corrected the mistakes that were in there. I don't actually know that many of the differences, but I'm going to try and compare, see if I can get a hold of the new edition and see what the differences are. But from what I can tell, read through the rules, there was only like one part where it was slightly unclear and that was just a phraseology thing, and that's what I'm used to in a rules versus what the rules are actually saying and what they're trying to convey. But very easy to understand, which that was a relief for me. I'd actually heard that the rulebook was a mess. I did not feel that way. I felt like the rules were pretty clear, and in the game, you set it up, and it's decently clear about how and what to do and where to go and things like that. Playing a whole turn, really, there's like 3 action phases where you might get attacked. Typically, you do. Apart from the night phase, that third phase, it's a 1 in 3 chance that you'll actually be attacked because it's nighttime. So you'll take 2 big attacks typically. Although in my first one, wasn't attacked on the first wave of my first day that I played, which was interesting. That's pretty unlikely. Normally you're going to get attacked and attacked and attacked. But it's possible that doesn't happen. In which case, some like you play a day, can be very quick. Play a couple of days, it can take you maybe an hour. But it goes along at a good clip, and there's interesting decisions to make that I felt didn't get repetitive because of the kind of attritional level of it. I think about some games where it's like, I take a bunch of damage, I'm dead. I take a bunch of damage, like, okay, we're hanging in there. I play another day, we're hanging in there. Play another day, hanging in there. So that they go along at a good clip. So it gives you a good feeling, and that's really what I wanted from this game, and it provided that. So I was pretty happy about that. I think what I'm going to do is I'll show you the board a little bit. I'll just show you, some of the basic mechanics, because I think at some point I might do a kind of a playthrough video at least, just to show you that, because it's really, really easy. And then I'll just wrap up with a few final thoughts. So here's a look at the board. We'll just get my dice tray over here so you can kind of see that. We'll try and roll those in the corner here. So the map has a picture of the destroyer down here. And again, like I said, if you've played Target for Today or B-17 Queen of the Skies, you'll recognize kind of the layout. So you have the ship, you have these sections here with a degree, and then kind of an elevation of attack here. So you've got 90 degrees, 45, 0, 315, 270, 225, 180, and 135. And these are the angles at which your Japanese kamikazes are going to come in through. And the game does revolve around flipping through a lot of charts, so you can determine where you're going, where you're stationed, the time of day, all that kind of stuff. And there's some historical stuff in here. Do you have any surface fire support from other vessels? Do you have any air support from carrier-based planes or anything from Okinawa itself? And then basically it comes down to you're going to roll on a table here with a bunch of bonuses from radar or negatives from damage that you may have taken. And this tells you which chart you're going to roll on. And then you're going to roll on a given chart, one of these 4 or these 4 over here. And if you kind of look at the chart will tell you how many planes you're going to be attacked by. So it could be as many as 6 or as 8. Things can get really bad, or you can get kind of like a 0 or a 2. But then it also has this 270 low, 270 high, 315 medium. So let's do that attack, for example. Basically, you just have a huge bag of counters. I'm randomly just going to choose 3 of them. And we said it was 270 low. So we go 270 low. I like to point it towards me. 270 high. And 315 medium. 315 medium, there we go. So that's the attack angles. Because there's 4 or fewer fighters or planes coming to attack us, they all attack in one wave. When you start getting up into those, like, I've got 8 fighters, they kind of get broken up into a number of waves, and then you get attacked by X amount the first wave, second wave, third wave, and that's kind of what this chart up here is for as well. this is a very familiar type of thing. So what you then start to do is you have all of your guns, and I've put the counters on them. The guns are kind of a target. We're going to move these over here, but I keep them as little holding boxes. And you assign the guns to what you're trying to attack. And here's the interesting part, and I kind of held this up earlier. So this is the fire chart. This tells you which of your guns can fire where. Basically the 5-inch guns, I think they're very good. These are the kind of best guns, that's what they said historically. And the 20mm cannons just really not that great. They can't fire as high or as well, and when they do hit, they're not as effective. So what you're going to try and do is kind of space out your good guns so you get good coverage on all the possible planes that you can. So what I end up doing, so if you look at 20mm cannons D and A, I know for a fact that those can't fire high, so I'm probably going to assign them to this one because I don't think they can attack at 315 medium. So let's look. 20mm A, 315. Oh, they can attack at medium over there. So he can shoot. This cannon can shoot all the way over here if he wanted to. Interesting. But I don't think I will because I'm going to have a lot of these 5-inch cannons probably going to fire on here, and then I'll try and draw fire here and here, depending if I can do that. So let's start with Mr. 5-inch gun up front. He can fire 315 medium. He's going to do that. This cannon, he can fire 270 medium and high. So he's going to shoot back here. We're going to do that. He can't fire at 270 low. That's just an interesting little choice here. He can only fire at 270 medium and high. And when the 5-inch cannons fire at a high elevation or a medium elevation, they get a +1 to their attack roll. So you always want to try and utilize that where possible. Shooting the 5-inch cannons at low, that's, it's suboptimal. You want to try and optimize what you're doing here. Mr. 40mm B over here, 40mm B, we're trying to shoot that at 315 medium. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do that because Mr. 40mm B, he can't even hit at 270. He can't even touch these. He's kind of this forward-facing gun, so he can shoot there, but he can't turn around. He'd have to shoot through the bridge to get there while doing that. So this is pretty decent coverage on here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm also going to tag on one of my 20mm cannons as well, just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to do a 40mm here, 40mm here. Let's see, what else are we going to do? Well, let's just check our bit low. They can also do that. The 20mm don't get any bonuses. He's going to shoot here as well. And then Mr. 5-inch, my 5-inch 3 gun, he can fire at 270 medium and high. So he's going to fire high here as well. And I do have 40mm E. Let's see, 40mm E. He can go 270 high as well. He's going to do that there. And I don't think I can fire, let's see if I can fire any of these. 20mm C and B. C and B. Nope. They don't have any angles. 40mm C. He doesn't have an angle. 5-inch 4 and 5. 5-inch 4 and 5. They can turn around and shoot up, so we're going to do that just to be on the safe side. So we're basically going to unload all of our possible guns on here. And this is something you'll notice. You're like, wow, that's a lot of guns, a lot of dice I'm going to roll. And that is true. You will be able to lever a lot of fire on these, and you will shoot down a lot of planes. But it only takes 1 or 2 to get through over the course of a couple days, where things can turn on a dime and it can get really bad for you. So, just bear that in mind. And then you literally go through and roll on these tables right here, and you see if you shoot them down. These take 3 hits before they're shot down, unless you get like a shot down result. So let's fire the 5-inch cannon, who gets a +1 to his roll, and we just roll the dice. And I rolled a 5. So +1 is a 6, and we're firing at medium elevation. So on the 5-inch table, medium elevation, we got a 6. That is a hit. Oh, only just. So we simply put a hit marker on there, and we'll just put that counter back to note that we've done it. So the 40mm cannon also gets a +1 at medium. He's going to roll on the 40mm table here. So we're going to roll 2 dice and add 1. And I rolled a 3. +1 is 4. A miss. Imagine that. And my terrible rolling coming out again. So not good. 40mm B is down here. And then I've got my 20mm with no bonuses. So we're just trying to roll high and hope for the best. And we rolled an 8. And an 8 on the medium is a hit. Well done. We actually scored a hit with those. That's great news. So we scored 2 hits. Now, 2 hits is good in a sense, because if you look over here at this damage table, this is what we're going to roll on because we weren't able to shoot it down. So it's going to hit us, but this undamaged aircraft attack is much more lethal than this damaged one, because figure he doesn't have as good control. He's going to hit us, but it's not like it well aimed and his plane's falling apart, so it's maybe not as great an impact. And the shot down aircraft a lot of times are going to miss or near miss. This is, if you shoot the aircraft down, well, it's still like a hunk of metal flying towards you. A lot of the times they just fall in the sea. The damaged aircraft, basically on a 2 through 6 is going to fall in the sea. 7 through 9 is a near miss, which is, you're on another table, also very likely it'll fall in the sea. These undamaged ones, it's easier for them to hit you. So we've done good damage to him, and we'll resolve this one here, just to see what happens. Okay, so we've got 5-inch cannon firing first, and he's firing at low altitude, or low elevation, so he's not going to get a bonus. So we fire, oh, we rolled a 10, that is good. We always want to roll high when you're shooting your guns, so a 10 at level altitude is 2 hits, good news. So one more hit and he's going to go down. So we've got 2 hits from our 5-inch cannon, that's good, that's the kind of results we want to see. 40mm cannon, we're going to roll that. And we rolled a 7, and he's 40mm level is +1, so that's actually an 8. And an 8 on the 40mm cannon is, let's see, we're at level, and we rolled an 8, also 2 hits. Well, that's really great. Basically, this puts him at 3 hits. So at that point, he's basically he's considered shot down. Boom. So we just can put the shot down marker there instead. So the shot down marker means we're going to roll down on the shot down table. Most likely he's going to miss us, barring catastrophe. Now, here's an interesting part though. 40mm cannon back up here. We assigned these 2, but they don't do anything. Because it's all these guns were shooting, that's what they were aiming at and shooting together. So these are basically wasted. You don't get to reassign these to someone else. And then we're going to shoot down our Tony up here. So this is high altitude, so a +1 on the 5-inch cannon. And we rolled a 5. That, I believe, that's not good. 5 at high, that is a miss. Not good. We've got another 5-inch cannon. We're going to try that one. +1. That's a 9. And a 9. A 9 at high is shot down B, and B is that we roll on the shot down table. If you get these shot down A's down here, you don't even roll on that shot down table. You just put that guy back in the cup, and he exploded in the sky and couldn't even attempt to crash land on you. So that was good news. And again, the rest of these just kind of go back to their holding boxes. He was shot down at us. So that's a pretty typical, at least in my experience, round of fire. You got 2 shot down, a guy that's maybe going to hit you, but it's probably going to be ineffectual. So basically what you do then is you have more charts and tables, and you just roll on these here. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll on this one, to kind of see what happens, okay? So let's roll for this guy here. He's rolling on the damaged 2 hits table. Roll 2d6. And we rolled a 5 down there. And a 5 is miss, no damage. He splashes into the ocean. Nothing happens to us. That's very, very good. These 2 guys were shot down. So we're going to roll on the shot down table. We'll go for the, doesn't really matter at this point, so we rolled a 7. 7 is a miss, no damage. And then for the second one, we're going to roll, and we rolled another 7, also miss, no damage. So that's quite typical of how things will end up. There will be many days where this is what happens to you, right? Now the difference is that was wave 1, so to speak. There are times where you would have another wave of another 3 fighters or 4 fighters, and then you go to the, and that, you know, that would be the morning, and then you do midday, and you're going to do that all over again, and then you might have a night attack, so you might face 6 waves, 7 waves of fighters in a day, and it only takes 1 to get through, because then 1, what he might do is he might crash. You start rolling on these tables to see how much damage it does. It's going to hit my 40mm gun tub, so it might take damage on here, and then there might come a point where that goes out of action, so this guy can't fire anymore, or there's so much stuff that goes on, and then what you get is, you know, when you start getting all these damage markers out, you've got these repair crews up here, and you physically say, you know, send out my repair teams, and they're going to go to the kind of forward section or midship or aft, and they're going to go and they're going to try and put the damage out, put fires out if you've got deck fires, trying to repair things to get things operational. So there's this desperate level of trying to keep everything intact. And anytime, you know, at the end of the day, if you've been firing at things, you're going to roll dice, you know, to see if you expend ammunition and fuel, and those are going to eventually go down. There's going to come a point where you can't stay in the water, so you've got to go back to base, refuel, rearm, and then get back out there. So, but that's really what this game is. It's tracking your ship morale as well. You trying to keep your radars intact. When your radars get damaged, it's easier for the Japanese to find you. So the waves get more dangerous because more planes are able to get there without you detecting them, without them being intercepted by fighters, that kind of stuff. But that's really it. It's this kind of, you know, these waves and waves and waves of fighters. But, you know, few of them will get through. And when they do, you know, they'll do a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there. Sometimes they'll do colossal and critical damage, and things go very south very quickly. But that's the game. It's a really, really neat system, so I just want to wrap up with some final thoughts. So that was a look at the board. You know, it's a single map, but it does take up a little bit of space. This isn't something you get out at your lunch break at work. But this is something where it'll be pretty easy. Setup and teardown isn't overly complex. So I would play a couple days for, you know, a few hours of a good campaign. I could put this in a box, store the things I need to in a bag, and then get it out again, and, you know, a few days later and do it. That's actually how I got through doing the Battle of Britain campaign. I just do like a single day every day, and you, on average, you play like 10 to 15 days, because there's like kind of days where, you know, 2 or 3 days without attack in the campaign. But I would just set it up, play it, put it back in the box. And so I would do that for like a couple hours each night over the course of a few weeks. And that's a really good way to do this game as well. If you wanted to play the full campaign. Because you're like 4 months and you play every single day. That seems like a lot. But the reality is this is something you whip out, play it for a bit, put it away. Whip it out, play it for a bit, put it away. Unless you wanted to sit down and do 4 months, go for it. But that's it. The game, to me, that's a positive thing, that it's easy to set up and put away, so that you can, you know, it's accessible to actually do the campaign in that way. You can actually sit here and actually finish the thing and get a historical result one way or the other. That's something that I appreciate. Some of these games, just war games in general, They're so big. Like, you gotta keep it out because you couldn't feasibly put it away and reasonably set it up again and it'd actually be accurate. Like a game like this where it's just a few holding markers, a few damage counters, I just take a picture of everything and everything can go back in the box and it's not, I haven't lost any information on the huge stacks of counters or anything like that. Like I know what I'm doing, it's pretty easy that way. So all in all, I was very happy with this game. I had a great time with it, and I will continue to have a great time with it because I always love a good solo game, and this was a great solo experience. It gives me a bit more meat than something like Silent Victory, than something like Target for Today. Those are much more story-based. I watch those and I think about movie Memphis Belle or something like that where I'm like, this is a very, cinematic style experience where I'm just like picturing it in my brain. I do the same thing with this, but I feel like there's a bit more of an actual game here. My decisions mean a lot more. And there's a lot more for me to try and do, literally putting out fires everywhere all over my boat if we get hit, things like that. That just gives me an extra level of richness, a bit more depth, and I feel this is a bit more of a meaty game. So, if you like those narrative games, this is that as well. But if you like something that's more decision making and you've kind of shied away from those, this is a great middle ground. I would say that. You do need a bit more space than something like Silent Victory, which is like 2 letter-sized pieces of card that reality is that's what you can play on. Sometimes you can even do it on 1. But this gives you, a nice, great-looking game. I thought the counters were also really good. Those aircraft counters look awesome. I love the big 1-inch counters. Legion do a really good job with those. And it was just fun. It's a fun game to play. So, if you've got any interest in solitaire wargaming, if you've never done solo wargaming, great place to jump in. But if you have and you've not played this one, this comes with good recommendations from me. Love the theme. Very, very interesting, like I said. Not something that I've never seen a game on this kind of thing before. But it's a fascinating experience and you learn a lot playing it, which is also something that I look for in a game. So this ticked a lot of boxes for me. And I figured that it would from what I'd read and what I'd heard about the game. But finally actually getting it, I've had it on the shelf for a long time. Finally getting it out and getting it played, this was really, really fun. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com. This is Picket Duty from Legion Wargames.